Okay, in today's video we are going to try and change the hot end screws on my Prusa Mini. Now this is important because the original screws got loosened at some point and the hot end was pushed out by the molten plastic and scraped all along the build plate. Now this is not good. You don't want this to happen. Now of course after the fact I over tightened the screws and actually probably broke them, which is also not good. So today we are going to replace the grub screws with some other type. On the Prusa printers forums, a user named Olaf actually did some investigation on how to replace these screws, and he found out M3x4 or M3x6 socket cap screws work very well. But first we have to remove the old ones. You will need a 1.5 hex driver and try to unscrew them. Now they very well might be stuck, very not. In that case there is a solution for getting them out. You can actually use a slightly oversized Torx bit to jam it inside the hex opening. Just make sure you hold the entire assembly in place so you don't bend anything. This is a universal hack, by the way, so you can always use this. If you find some stuck hex screw, just jam a Torx driver in, which is slightly oversized. Job done. The problem with these screws is that their ends are flat, and so they can only provide a friction-based locking instead of a shape-based locking. Now we cannot fix this too much because we cannot put additional notches on the hot end tube to provide a proper shape locking feature. What we can do is use stronger screws, as the investigation by Olaf suggested. I don't have M3x4 or M3x6 socket head cap. What I do have is M3x8. Okay, I also have additionally M3x4, but that is a button head cap screw, and the problem with that is that it doesn't share the same opening as all the other screws in the printer, and I want to keep using a single tool for all of the screws, so we are going to use the bigger one. I could theoretically shorten it, but I don't have the time for it. This machine needs to be up and running now. Before you try to put everything together, make sure to take out the Teflon tube and remove the filamentine feed, because otherwise the Teflon tube is just going to push down on everything and it will not let you lift the hot end into the correct position. So take that out. Since these screws are much stronger than the original screws, you can tighten them much harder, but don't over tighten them, because you will absolutely pull out the threads out of the heatsink. Please don't do that. Just tighten it with some feel and absolutely no excessive force. Okay, try to use your wrist and not your arm, or your fingers and not your arm, if that makes sense. If you look into the hole, you can see it's up against the diameter change in the tube, so that shows you pushed it up far enough. Once that is done, you can reinsert the Teflon tube and connect everything back together. Make sure to put the coarse thread into the hot end and not into the feed line. Right, once we are all done with this, make sure to do a first layer calibration, because we did actually move the whole hot end assembly in the Z-axis and it's going to probably change R0. So be very careful.